What's up, family? Today we covering some very heavy info, okay? We covering some very heavy info. We talking about the current mass extinction that's taking place, all right? Now, we hear everything on the news right now about, said viruses and things like that. And that's all relevant, but at the same time, I believe 99% of people that get it are surviving. So my question is, why isn't the current mass extinction of life on Earth being talked about? Okay. It's a very interesting conversation on, what the news decides to report on and make an issue, and the things that's not an issue, things like that, right? And I just wanted to shed some light on what's going on, because see, when I come with this and I come with this voodoo gospel, voodoo is nature, man. Voodoo is nature science. When I come with this voodoo gospel, I come with the facts. If you learning from my teachings, one thing that you're gonna have is the facts. So people can debate all they want. You're gonna have the facts to back it up and let them know what you're talking about and what scientists publish the studies, and you know what I'm saying? We don't play with this information. So let's get into it, all right? The definition, so we're going to define extinction, all right? The definition of extinction, all right? It's important. The fact or process of a species, family, or other group of animals or plants becoming extinct, all right? Definition of a mass extinction. A mass extinction is usually defined as a loss of about 3/4 of all species in existence across the entire Earth over a short geological period of time. So, a short geological period of time is like, a few 100 million years, which seems like a long time, but in the context of how long Earth has been here, is really not a long time. All right. So that's what it is in that. So like I said, about 3/4 of all life being gone in a relatively short amount of time, that constitutes a mass extinction. So before we get into the major extinction that's going on today, it's important for us to cover the major extinctions that have already occurred, okay? The major extinctions that have already been a thing that's documented by science, all right? So let's start right here. We have the Ordovician Extinction. So when did it happen, all right? About 443 million years ago, okay? So why did it happen? This is important. Pay attention to the whys of why these mass extinctions have occurred. There's been 5 so far. This current one is the 6th. So let's see what happened in the first one. Ice sheets advanced, radically changing ocean currents and creating a harsh climate in the equatorial and mid-latitude regions. Many of the species that survived this first hit adapted to their new world, only to succumb to the second pulse, a sudden melt, another climate shift, and another ocean circulation switch up. So there were species that survived that first ice sheet advancing. Those first ice sheets advancing, they adapted and then end up dying off. All right. So the life that existed in that era. So the animals that didn't make it were most of the trilobite species, all right, and many corals and several brachiopods. They didn't make it. The extinction toll was about 86% of the species. So about 86% of all life died in that frame of time. All right. So here we go with the second major mass extinction, which is the Devonian extinction. So when did it happen? 359 million to 380 million years ago. Now let's look at the why. Okay. So it consisted of a series of pulses in climate change over 20 million plus years. That word climate change keep coming up. Now, there's people in government saying ain't no such thing as climate change. But I'm on the second major mass extinction that happened according to archaeology, which I don't think any of the politicians are archaeologists. Last time I checked, I don't think any of the politicians were archaeologists or any type of scientists other than political science. And most of them don't even know that. They didn't even study that in school. So let's read on. All right. So consisted of a series of pulses in climate change over 20 million plus years that led to periodic and sudden drops in biodiversity, including the Hangenberg crisis, which some researchers consider a separate mass extinction event. The change is possibly the result of significant volcanic activity in Siberia, reduced oxygen levels in the oceans, and caused other environmental shifts. So the extinction toll on this one was 75% of all species went gone. All right. So let's look at the species that went extinct. Armored fish known as placoderms were wiped out. Many species of coral and more trilobites also went gone. So that's who was affected by the Devonian extinction. So already we got climate change. It happened before. So how is it that it's not happening? All right, we're going to get to that. So now we got the third event, which was the Permian extinction. When did it happen? 251 million years ago. We know this because we can carbon date fossils in different sediments and know what was going on at that time. This is science. See, I don't get on here. I don't want to talk about conspiracies. I don't want to talk about none of that. I want to talk about science. And what did the science say? The science tells us that 99% of people that catch this sickness in the air are going to survive. Okay? Now, science tells us that in a major mass extinction, over 3/4 of all life on Earth goes out. And we're in the sixth major mass extinction. What is the sixth major mass extinction? We're going to get to that. But before we get to that, let's talk about this Permian extinction. Why did it happen? Volcanic activity in Siberia is considered the main culprit for this mightiest of mass extinctions. It's the mightiest of mass extinctions. Region-wide eruptions spewed toxic gas and acidified the oceans. Turned the ocean into acid. Woo! Can you imagine that? Imagine the ocean turning into, becoming acidic. Woo! This is deep, family. The disruption may have even shredded the ozone layer, allowing in deadly ultraviolet radiation. A 2014 study suggested the apocalypse unfolded over a span of about 50,000 years. So this one didn't take long to happen, okay? Once it started, it was quick. And as these volcanoes were doing their thing, it was doing what? Creating what? Climate shifts. Okay? They say ain't no climate changing and all this. I'm on my third mass extinction and we still talking about the climate shifting and the animals and plants not being able to keep up with it. So now let's get into the fourth one, which is the Triassic Extinction, all right? When did this happen? About 201 million years ago. Why did it happen? Volcanoes again. All right, but this time we can't blame Siberia. Instead, massive eruptions in a hot spot at the center of what would eventually be the Atlantic Ocean created another bout of climate calamity, and it played like an echo of the end of the Permian. Okay? But let's go back to the Permian. So the extinction toll for the Permian was 96% of all species went wiped out. And let's look at who went wiped out. Many forests were destroyed, apparently during wildfires, that afterward, it was nothing left to burn. Researchers have identified a charcoal gap in the geological record. See how we dealing with science? Among the animals that met their doom, many amphibians and several synapsids. A diverse group of animals that included several apex predators of their day. So that was, once again, the Permian. Now, kind of like a continuation of what took place that echoed what happened in the Permian. After this, the Triassic, all right, which volcanoes again, but now over the Atlantic Ocean, 201 million years ago. And the extinction toll on the Triassic was 80% of species went gone. Who went extinct? Conodont, which were like ribbon-like fish, as well as many reptiles. Okay, they got hit the hardest. So once again, climate changing. On our fourth mass extinction, climate changed again. You see how the world running patterns? Now, let's look at the most recent one, the Cretaceous Extinction, and probably the most famous mass extinction, all right? When did it happen? About 65 million years ago. So why? Okay? A chunk of space rock slammed into the planet near Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula at the time. But researchers disagree on whether the asteroid strike caused or merely contributed to the die-off. So we know the asteroid hit the Yucatan Peninsula, but we don't know if that's what caused it or if that's what accelerated the mass extinction of that time. Large-scale volcanic activity in India's Deccan Traps was already underway before the impact. In a science advanced study published in February suggests both the asteroid hit and Deccan Traps activity coincided with a general uptick in planet-wide volcanism. So they're saying that likely it all grouped together to add to what was taking place. Whatever the catalyst, it appears a spike in carbon dioxide and a drop in ocean oxygen levels were followed by a rapid post-asteroid cooling. Once again, climate change. The climate change. The climate change. So we don't have to listen to what politicians are saying right now about the climate changing or not changing. We see what's happening with the season. We don't. If we didn't have calendars, we wouldn't know what season we were in right now. Let's just put it like that. If we didn't have calendars, we would have a hard time deciphering what seasons we were in. This is true. Was it like that 200 years ago? No. So right there in itself, that's something that's indicative of what? Climate change. Come on, man. Stop playing with us, man. So let's look at the extinction toll. About 76% of all species went extinct at this time. What species? The dinosaur. All right? Though many other organisms were also wiped out, such as ammonites, which are mollusks with distinct spiral shells. The dinosaurs are the main group of organisms that we talk about. So this was the era where the dinosaurs went missing. And how do we know this? Because we can dig them out the ground. You feel me? This is science. There's a lot of things we can't dig out the ground that I don't really want to get into, because then we're going to get into, religious books and stuff. And I ain't come on here to talk about that today. But, you know, we can dig Egyptians out the ground. We can dig ancient Greeks out the ground, but we can't dig nobody from the Bible out the ground. But we can dig dinosaurs out the ground. See what I'm talking about? Okay. So what does this talk about? Let's get into what's happening right now. This extinction is called the Holocene Extinction. So there's a name for it. How do you spell Holocene? Holocene. The Holocene Extinction. All right. Google it. YouTube it. Do your own due diligence and then come check back with your brother and see if I'm telling the truth or not. Okay. The Holocene Extinction is a real event. Okay. The Holocene Extinction is what's currently happening and it's recognized by science. This is not conspiracy talk. Science that we're talking about. We're talking about the Holocene Extinction. You dig? That's what we're talking about. All right. So the definition of Holocene. The Holocene is the name given to the last 11,700 years of the Earth's history. The time since the end of the last major glacial epoch or ice age. All right. So that's what the definition of Holocene is. So you're telling me 11,000 years. Let's look at it. The end of the last ice age. That was about the time human beings, not human but hominoids, started to walk the earth. 11,000 years. So in 11,000 years of Homo sapiens sapien, this is what we come to. You see what I'm saying? Already we done wrecked the planet. So let's see what causes. Let's see the causes behind this last major, this current mass extinction that's happening. Human activities are to blame, including population growth, increased resource consumption, and climate change, spurred by fossil fuel burning and the release of greenhouse gases. That's what's fueling this mass extinction that's happening. Like I said, climate change is a part of it. It played a part in basically every other mass extinction. There were 5 documented. 5, documented. And now we're in the 6th. Can the politicians count the 6th? Because we in the 6th major mass extinction. And climate change coming up again. We don't know the seasons without a calendar. Come on. Gotta get it together, people. Just when I talk about this stuff, you gotta, it's passion. It's passion in me because this is a real life. Why aren't they talking about this on the news? Maybe there's no money in talking about this. Maybe there's money in vaccines, so we can talk about that. But if overconsumption is leading to the major mass extinction, why would they want us to not consume as much? That means we're going to spend less money. Less consumption means less money. You see how the game go? You see how the game go. You see how the game go. You see how it's played. All right? They don't give a damn about this planet. So let's look at some conclusions that we can come to. We need to do our part in slowing the process. So people need to clean their little part. Be more aware of throwing trash, how you're throwing out trash. Be more aware of how you're burning of energy and things like that. Be more aware, because if everybody play their little part, then we can slow the process. We can slow the process as the people. The other thing that's happening is the average person doesn't think past their own lifetime. This is a big one. The average person don't think past their own lifetime. So these people that's doing this to the planet, they're not thinking about their grandkids and their great-grandkids. They thinking about their lifespan, which is going to span about 77 years. So after 77 years, whatever happened to this planet, so what? I ain't going to be here. To me, personally, I think that's selfish. You dig? Personally, I think that's selfish. But people gonna do what people gonna do. All we can do is control ourselves. And the crazy thing is, people really don't be thinking past this week or today. That's why they just do things and end up in bad positions and wonder how they end up in bad positions. Because they made a decision that was they made a permanent decision off temporary emotions, and now boom, you in a bad position. You see how that go? So y'all gotta pay attention to these things. All right. Now here's another thing that we have to understand. The planet is pure consciousness. When we talk about Mother Earth, we're talking about pure consciousness. All right. And she will purge herself of parasites. And human beings have become parasitic. The earth has cleaned itself out 5 different times already, where over 75% or more of all life went missing, gone, extinct. It'll do it again, and it'll do it again, and it'll do it every time that it needs to replenish itself and fix itself. The earth will cleanse itself, because the earth itself is just pure energy, pure consciousness, pure nature, pure laws. That's what the earth is. And that's what any planet is, including stars, including the sun. All right? That's just raw energy, raw laws of nature at play, raw laws of physics at play, and it will purge itself when it needs to. So we have to understand this when we're talking about what we're doing to the environment, what we're doing to Mother Earth. And we got to be aware. Okay? We have to be aware that we're right now looking at species going extinct right before our eyes. Okay? Will our great-grandchildren be able to even see a tiger in the wild? Will our grandchildren even be able to see a tiger in the wild? Think about that. This is real. And it's happening. And many species have already gone extinct. See, species go extinct every day. You just don't know about them all because some are just endemic to a certain region, literally specifically to that part of the world, and they're not widespread. So there can be a species that's literally endemic to this part of the Amazon rainforest and nowhere else. Nowhere else, even in the Amazon, this part of the Amazon, and those species go extinct. Now what? You don't hear about those species. A lot of them are plant life. A lot of them are invertebrates, right? So you're not going to hear about them because it doesn't carry the same valor as a lion. If lions went extinct, the whole world would know about it, right? So bear this in mind, family. Bear this in mind that climate change is happening. Bear this in mind that the spooky thing about this being driven by humans is that a nuclear attack can just wipe everything out before all of this even take effect. Because people be wilding. You see what I'm saying? And a nuclear fallout. Now, we already talked about radioactivity playing its part in other major mass extinction events. Right? We already talked about radioactivity playing its part in other mass extinction events. Okay? So we can't act like this is not a thing. You see what I'm saying? We can't act like this is not a thing because we understand that it's already happened. History repeats itself. History repeats itself. That's a fact. You see what I'm saying? That's a fact. And a radioactivity from nuclear war would just wipe everybody out. That's just that. We know what happened with Hiroshima. We know this is all real. Now imagine 4 other countries dropping nukes. It's a dub. It's going to be over with. So that's the even spooky part about what we're talking about. Because we're dealing with human beings. We're dealing with flawed people that have power. It's not a good situation. So family, just keep that in mind, man. Know that even look at the lungs of the world, the Congo being shrunk down, withered down. The Amazon being shrunk and withered down. These places are called the lungs of the earth because they literally put copious amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere that we breathe. Go Google images or YouTube images of oxygen coming off of the Amazon canopy or the Congo canopy and see exactly what I'm talking about. See if what I'm saying is cap. Go do the research your own self and see what I'm talking about, family. And that's what I want to leave y'all with, man. Be conscious about how you're treating Mother Earth. All right? Because we only get one. And that's what I want to leave y'all with. I love y'all 100.